Hey, I'm your host, Josh Turner, and for the last 9 years, I've been working with leaders to build high-performance teams that help turn their vision into reality. This is Uncommon Ground, where we have real conversations with bold founders and leaders building businesses that stand out and scale up. Today's guest is Shane Malpass, founder of We Buy Any Motorcaravan, the market leader in one of the most competitive and misunderstood industries in the UK. Shane's taken a category most people overlook and turned it into a nationally recognised brand, combining big vision, a brilliant team, and a level of consistency that's hard to match. In this episode, we talk about brand power, operational excellence, team culture, and what it really takes to lead a business from startup to market dominance. If you're serious about building something that lasts, this conversation will hit home. Let's dive in.
Hey Shane.
Hello Joshua.
It's great to have you with us on the Uncommon Ground podcast today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Mate, something I love about you is that 99% of people in the world would love what you have in terms of business. Mm-hmm. That's me saying that. That's what you say. That's It's okay. But you have an outlook and a humility that I don't think loads of people have when they've reached the level that you have. Is that something that's always been there, or have you worked on that?
I think it's more of a natural thing. I think with me, I still don't feel like I'm where you are saying I am. Yeah. I don't think I ever will. And that's what that keeps driving me forward, if that makes sense. And that's why I want to take on other projects, I guess, going forward, just to keep exploring. So I almost prove it to myself, because I don't feel like I'm there.
I get that. Yeah, you don't feel like you've arrived. But also, you never exude like a superiority, which I think is great about you. I mean, just talking about what you do, like We Buy Any Motorcaravan, 27 million north of turnover now.
Yeah.
Like, what a journey that's been. But did you know, and we'll talk about that, I guess, in a second, but did you always know you wanted to be a business owner, an entrepreneur?
To be completely honest, no. I'd probably say until that I saw a little bit of a change around 2018 when I started to learn things. Yeah. It was never on my radar. Wow. Not never on my radar, but I didn't understand where I was going or anything like that. It was just cruising along. Probably took it as quite an easy ride, because it was an easy ride from what we was doing back then. You know, if you're only moving on 12 a month, you don't really get motivated. The same thing every day. Yeah. So it's completely changed in those years, and then, you know, we're getting there now. There's a lot of variables to it as well. Yeah,
that's so interesting. So, like, talk us through as a kid. Yeah, what were you thinking? What was the dream? Footballer like me, or obviously I had a bad injury, which is why I'm not a footballer now.
Not a golfer.
Well, no, footballer was first, funnily enough, and then like golf was like on the periphery. But yeah.
Yeah, so for me it was different. So I used to go into my dad's work. My dad used to work for a big motorhome dealership from a couple of years before I was born. From about 5 years old, I used to go in with my dad.
Wow.
I used to go in every Saturday morning. Yeah. I don't know what I used to do, but I used to be there all day. Gosh. And then it was probably when I was getting later, towards 10, 11, I used to go to the shows. And this is not me as an introvert. I used to do like bed demonstrations to everybody that was going through the stand, hand out brochures, etc. Then probably 12 years old, I started to wash down vans on the weekend.
Was your dad a salesperson?
He was sales manager there.
Sales manager?
Yeah.
So you were watching him sell, all that kind of stuff, at 5 years old?
Pretty much. He had his own office. All the salespeople came in. They came to him for the price, and that's how it worked.
What were we like, just thinking back to that now, like, what are the feelings about that time?
No, it was really good, because it was I felt like, for me back then, I was more comfortable around that than I was kids, because I just got to see what was happening in a business. And because it was a business of probably 30-ish people, you got to know everybody there, which is the nice thing.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice time.
So 12 onwards, secondary school, adolescence, what are you thinking then?
So that's when I was, about 12 years old, that's when I started washing the vans down on a weekend and into the holidays. And this is something that I was thinking on the way in. I can remember going to see my auntie and uncle in Michigan, and they used to live on the lakes, really nice place. Wow. But I remember I worked the weekends and the holidays. And I remember going on holiday, and I had £320 cash. Yeah. From all the work I'd done. I felt like I was balling. to be honest, I felt like, you know, at that age, it's a lot of money. But it took a few months
to then as well. No, it's like,
Took a few months.
And some polo.
Exactly. It took a few months to earn. And that was probably the first thing for me for work.
Yeah, like the buzz of like earning some cash yourself. And
it'd be interesting to think back. It's like, was that the reason why I didn't really push for education after that too much?
Yeah, because you'd seen it and you sort of...
Yeah.
You see, I think that's such a thing that I've learned is school teaches that maybe you have to earn money a certain way.
Yeah.
But I think when you get into business or entrepreneurship or you see it, I was blessed to be around business owners or entrepreneurship from a young age, seeing some stuff that worked and some stuff that didn't.
Yeah.
But what I realised was that you could sort of create wealth from nowhere.
Yeah.
And it didn't have to be by doing maybe what was prescribed at school. There were different ways to do it.
And I think the other thing, going back to where I was back then, is it was really nice that the owner of the company at the time, he was very big into no job is beneath anybody.
Yeah.
So he used to litter pick all the way to work. He used to live next door.
Wow.
He used to go up the road, pick all the litter up. People who dropped the fast food and everything like that out the window. And that's what I loved. And that was a really big lesson for me growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to fast forward to today just now, but thinking about that and seeing you in the business, every piece of your business, don't you?
Yeah.
Like We Buy Any Motorcaravan, which is interesting. So we let's go 18, left school, and I know you messed about with a few different jobs, didn't you?
Yeah, sort of. So at 16, I was working in a pub, worked my way up, got the chance to go to the next level and then run my own pub at probably 18, 19.
Yeah, wow.
Worked for an estate agent in Nottingham for a year.
Yeah.
That was an experience because you was going everything from obviously doing the sales on the phone, you was door-to-door knocking, which I think is a pretty good foundation for for sales, really.
Because it's not much harder than that either, is it?
No.
I always think that.
No, exactly that. So I think that taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And that was where I left then to start to go with my dad.
Yeah. I mean, we've got like Kai and Charlie here today who are a bit younger than us. And I always think with jobs like that door-to-door knocking job, I think about my time in the coffee shop. I think about my time like doing, picking up the phone and doing cold calls and stuff like that. It seems sometimes that people don't want to do that work and it's just so formative and it teaches you so much. Even though it's hard, even though it sometimes doesn't feel like you get anywhere, it just teaches you so much, doesn't it?
Well, I think in terms of everything, it's like the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And every door that you knock and every phone call that you do is the best way to look at it. You're one step closer to the sale. Yeah. So that was the biggest thing it taught me, is like you're going to get rejected. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, I think going through school, most people get rejected all the time. So in different ways through friends or partners or whatever. But, in terms of sales, it's such a good way to learn. Yeah,
I was having a conversation with James Ashford, who's been another guest in the podcast, and he was speaking about embarrassment, being able to be embarrassed at times and not being scared of embarrassment being such a key thing. And in sales, that's a massive thing, not being scared of rejection.
Yeah, exactly. Sales is rejection. Yeah. 99% of the time. And you just, like I said, you're just hoping for that you're getting one step closer to that call that's going to say yes. Yeah.
I heard this crazy stat about Roger Federer, obviously one of the greatest tennis player ever. In his entire career, he lost 48% of the points. That's wild, isn't it? 48% he lost. But he's one of the greats of all time. And I think it tells us so much about life, about business, that so much of it is about those, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how you rebound and how you react and maybe getting rejected. And
that's right. I mean, going back to sales, and it's not for everybody, that.
No.
And that's where everybody's got a position in the place in the world, because not everybody's going to be able to take rejection after rejection to be able to then potentially get the yes. No. And it depends how you adapt from those no's to then turn it into a yes, doesn't it?
It does, and that's what's interesting about you, because a lot of people maybe listening today would think that sales is about, I think an extrovert, someone who's flamboyant. You are not an extrovert, are you?
No, and I'll probably say that the two people who are the best salespeople in my company are very much an introvert. Yeah. And for the sake of the call, they come out of their shell, do what they need to, go back into the shell, pick the phone up, do the next one, and go again, which is really interesting. because you'd have thought it would be the people that are the...
Yeah. But I think there's a distinction as well. It's not just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you're not a people person. I'd class you as a people person, even though you're an introvert. You're good with people.
Yeah.
The point is, the way you recharge yourself is by being alone, and that's how you get ready to go again, and I guess meet people and do stuff like this.
Yeah. And like you said, there's different types of people as well. I'm good with people when I know them. I'm a good at people. I'm a good, like my wife Vic, going out there. You can put her in a room. She'll talk to every single person. She'll be the best friends forever. Yeah, and that is true. That is not me. There's something I need to improve on, and I will do.
And Vic's made friends with like the whole of Dubai, hasn't she?
Oh yeah. I went away last week, and that's all she did. That some of the contacts she made was fantastic. I'm like, how? Yeah.
She's just got you like 5 different business opportunities just from being there.
Oh yeah, some great stories as well from her talking to people.
I bet. Right. So like we've left the estate agent. What happens now?
So that's when we started the company.
What year is that?
December 2007.
Yeah.
But it sort of started in 2008. The company my dad worked for needed more stock.
What were you called?
Caravan and Motorhome Sales was the original name.
Yeah.
Which we can talk about branding at some point, but that's what, at the end of the day, that's what the company was. It was Caravan and Motorhome Sales. So it was like, well, that makes sense. Yeah. Isn't so much that anymore. We've still got it because it's the parent company, but that wasn't what it was meant to be.
Yeah, and just tell us a bit about that.
So all we did is we just went out the road, sourcing motorhomes and caravans for this dealership. We had an agreement that everything went to them. Did the phone call with the customer. Sorry, the lead came in, did the phone call with the customer, agreed the price, went out, potentially negotiated, picked it up, brought it back, done.
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how does it develop? So just take us from 2007, where it's you and your dad, you've set up, doing stuff. Like, was money just there straight away, or like how did it work? Because it takes us up to like 13 years later until things really start to pop in a big way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm probably going to take it back a step, because obviously we started in 2007, 2008, there was a bit of a financial crisis back then.
Yes, good point.
You remember rightly. And with our industry, there was a bit of a lag. Yeah. So we did really well for a year or two, and then everything started to really quieten down. Yeah. And that's when the company that we were buying for decided that they didn't want us to do it anymore. And that's when we were left on our own. Few lessons learned there. One was, don't put your eggs in one basket, because as soon as that company turned around and said, we don't want it, then you're like, uh-oh. Yeah. Well, we had a mutual agreement that we would only buy for you, and you said that we should only buy for you. Yeah. So that's what we did. We stayed loyal. Yeah. So that was a massive lesson. It's happened a couple of times to us in the past where we've put reliability on somebody giving us the leads, or as a customer, however you want to phrase it.
A single point of failure.
Exactly, yeah. So that was a big lesson back then. That was when we went on our own and we started trading, very much like a typical car trailer, I guess, trader, I guess. Just buying and selling, moving them on. Yeah. Getting put, if there was a dealership that had a part exchange coming in, they would call us asking for a price. Yeah. And move on there, and that's what we did pretty much to 2008, 17, 18, that sort of era. Yeah.
Like, what was the level? Was it just you and your dad doing that, buying one at a time, maybe, or whatever? What did it look like?
Yeah, exactly that, because that's all we had the money for. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially when we stopped buying for that first company, I can remember we had a 25 grand overdraft, and this is how bad it got. Yeah. I think we had 4 grand left of that overdraft. Wow. And that was in the days when you was able to cross checks. Yeah. So you paid out a check, as long as you got to the bank in the same day, then they would hopefully match. Wow. 2, 3 days, 4 days later. Yeah. So I don't have the best of memories about that time, but that's what we did, and just fought a way out of it. And it's big praise to my dad for that, because he was a big fighter when it came to that sort of thing.
What did that feel like? Did you have it? Were you with Vic your wife at that time?
No, previous to Vic. Yeah. Well, previous to Vic. But no, it's scary, because there was probably an element where another month or so, and the family home was being sold and everything like that. So it was a massive learning curve.
Isn't like life so funny like that, in business as well, that like this sliding doors moment?
Yeah.
What happens if like that one deal doesn't happen?
Yeah.
And we're 6 weeks without a sale. does everything, like, is Shane in a complete different place with a complete different person? You know, you got a baby roaring out.
I've been working for somebody, whatever it is.
Yeah. Isn't that so interesting? And I think life's so funny like that, and it's just such a reminder, just keep going, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
I guess you learnt that from your dad then in that moment.
Yeah, there was. I mean, without fast forwarding too much, there was a couple of times that I learned big lessons from my dad. It was obviously, like I said, I used to go into work with him, so I've learned most of my things. But the other one was when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Everybody shuts down. Everybody goes, "What do we do here?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Right, let's go and let's go and start buying some motorhome." Probably within a week or so of the lockdown, we were out again, and it's just that mentality to keep going. That's my couple of biggest lessons from that, as well as making sure that you're self-sufficient.
Do you feel comfortable telling us, like, revenue-wise, what you were at 2019, 2020-wise? Yes, so give us some context.
So 2019, we were, I can't remember the exact figures, but we're 150, 170,000 pound.
Wow.
Sorry, this is net. Yeah, this is profit. Sorry.
Okay.
And then it's gone up to £1 million now.
Yeah.
Revenue-wise, in terms of turnover, two up to about 27.
Yeah. Which is just crazy figures in
Yes.
5 years, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, your life has materially changed.
Yeah.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
And so what led to that? So I think we need to talk about COVID.
Yeah.
Because that was the moment that everything started to change, wasn't it?
That's right. So just before COVID, we took on my friend Liam.
Yeah.
He was somebody that joined the company with us.
Yeah. Was that a big step, taking on your first employee?
Yeah, because I'd never employed anybody before.
No.
My dad probably took salespeople on as a sales manager back in the day, but yeah, it's a completely different thing. The only thing is that I was obviously comfortable with the person I took on because I'd known him for 20 odd years at that point. So that was a big change. But obviously going from that to in 2019 and into 2020, and then you've got this other person that you need to pay, even though everybody's just gone into lockdown and the world's ending.
Yeah.
That was more the scary moment was going into lockdown and thinking I've got this person that I'm responsible for.
Who's your friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, I can imagine that'd be quite a big weight. Were you mandated to shut down at that time, or were you okay?
The rules were you could travel as long as you, for business only, wasn't it, or something along those lines. So we didn't have to.
Yeah, that's good.
We just did it a different way. We everything was paid through by still is NatWest app, Bankline app. We paid. They handed us the keys through the window. We inspected it.
Wow.
Went round, shouted through the window, and did the deal.
Okay. So when did you change to We Buy Any Motorcaravan?
We changed, and this was the second lesson that I had about putting your eggs in one basket. This is around 2000. I'm going to say 2015ish.
Yeah.
Another company has set up a similar company doing the same sort of thing, but he was based on caravans.
Okay.
And he wanted someone to do the motorhomes.
Yeah.
And we bought 2 motorhomes in the agreement that we had. We'll have the motorhomes, the other caravans. Bought 2 motorhomes. He saw us make profit on them, and decided to start doing motorhomes. So that was when I was like, that was one of those lessons again. You've got to control.
You've learned it twice.
Yeah, you've got to control your sources. There's a guy called John Cordwell who is Phones for You, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he, whilst it's not easy at the smaller scales, but 10% rule, which is never add more than 10% in who you sell to, 10% who you buy from, your stock and people as well.
And I imagine today, speaking and people listening, small businesses, their biggest customer may be far more than that. Yeah, 25, 30.
And the rest,
50.
Yeah.
What would be some advice and guidance, like, for you to give them?
I'd just say you've just got to just don't put everything in one supplier or whatever it is. It is just as I said. Yeah. Because if that one person turns around one day and says, oh, I've just found someone else to supply me, or they stop buying, or whatever it is, you've just got no control over your company. You're owned by them within reason.
Yeah, because they hold the cards.
Exactly, yeah. So you just got to keep spreading it. I'd rather now, this is why we started doing our own marketing and ads and everything like that, because relying on the dealerships, it would never work, especially going into COVID when everybody kept hold of the stock because they couldn't get the stock to sell. We'd have gone under, without a doubt. So 100% for just keep your options open with everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, if you're sat in a place today and think, think your way out of it. You don't have to just go and sack a client if it's a client, for example, or a supplier. But think your way out of it. So if it's a client, try and win more clients like that because they're paying you because they think you're great at what you do.
Yeah.
If it's a supplier, let's say we talk about ads, and we need to talk about that with you. Maybe you need 2 or 3 suppliers.
Yes, exactly.
So you're not so reliant on one person getting it right, because if that tap goes off, then you're in a lot of trouble, aren't you? And this will be such a lesson for loads of small businesses, and medium-sized businesses, honestly, as well.
And I do completely understand. It's not always as easy as it sounds, because if you get offered this company that's going to give you 50% of what you earn, you're not going to say no to it.
No.
It's just making sure that you don't limit yourself too much.
And that you know that. Yeah. Like, that could go away, and make sure if that goes away, you're okay. Yeah. And if that stays, well, okay, what do we need to do? We need to add some more clients so they're not as big of a percentage. So it can be really positive. We're not saying turn stuff down, are we? We're just saying
no.
Be aware.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going on.
And even go, and it happens even to the big companies. I was speaking to a friend the other day, works for a big software company, do some of the biggest software in some of the biggest hotels, dealerships, and everything like that. Yeah. And I think there was one that was teetering on the edge of renewing, and I'm sure it was like 60% of their customer base. Wow. And that just changes. That makes you. That just you have to get rid of a load of staff and everything if that changes.
I knew. I heard an example of a company who massive turnover, similar story, but Amazon will have 80% of all their revenue, and that was bought out. Yeah. What do you do then? You've got to rebuild, and it's tough.
Rebuild or you lose it all.
Exactly.
You could lose it all at that stage.
Yeah, and that's where you've got to fight for that stuff, and I think that's really useful.
Yeah.
So we're in 2020. It's you, your dad, and Liam.
Yes.
Are you doing any digital marketing stuff now? What does it look like?
So it was around the 2018 mark. That's when I started to kick in. Yeah. And I'm somebody who likes to learn about everything before leaving it to the specialists. Yeah. So it was dangerous enough to have a conversation about it. Yeah. So I'd started to learn about ads. My dad was
Google.
Yes, Google Ads. Sorry, Google Ads. My dad was more against it because it was the unknown. Yeah. Dad wasn't a technology person. Yeah. That was probably where we, clashed when it got to it. Yeah. But I started to learn about ads. I started the ads. I spent £100 a day. And it ended up giving us leads. And even though my dad was nervous about it and said, I don't like that, I think it came to the end of the next month. I think we bought something like 15 and 7 were from the ads. Wow. And I was like,
yeah, here we go. Look, these are your results.
Yeah, we just bought 7 and it's cost us one motor end's profit.
Yeah, and I think that again is a really great lesson, because there'll be lots of businesses maybe listening here today who are older companies, 30, 40, 50 years old, and maybe a similar situation to yourself and your dad. Like, how would you, let's say there's the next generation listening to us today, like, how do you go about those conversations with the previous generation who, look, we're doing it like this because it's always worked?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It depends who you've got on the other end. I've got friends that are that stubborn that the kids have had to walk away. Wow. But then my dad ended up, and he told me that more after, is like, I just couldn't keep up, and 2, I just couldn't deal with the clashes in opinion. Yeah. The only way I did it was just prove the theory works. Yeah. But it is a very difficult one, because some people just don't want to let go.
No. And family can come with amazing blessings, and friends. Yeah. In business. Can come with amazing blessings and upside, but also some pretty strong negatives, because if stuff does go wrong, it's so much harder, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was sort of what ended my dad working with us. It was his choice, He retired basically. Yeah. Not long after COVID, the first lockdown came in, and we started to introduce spreadsheets and stuff like that, rather than just a diary that we wrote every motor end had been offered. And he was like, "I'm done. I can't do anything about this." Yeah. And that's when he went, because it just made the next evolution of the business. Yeah, it took it to it was a big change. Yeah.
Tell us how we got to 27 million then, from where we were at the start of COVID.
COVID was a big.
Yeah, a big thing because they don't want to do in COVID. You're allowed to go away in England for what was it 2 years?
Oh, it must have been. Maybe not. I don't know.
It was 2020 until definitely 2021 and probably late into 2021.
I mean, first of all, how crazy does it
Feel mad.
I mean, at the time of filming this, we're 5 years since it went into lockdown.
Yeah, which is crazy. I can remember those first 3 months, like that first lockdown. Can you remember that?
Yeah.
And everyone, the weather was amazing. They was like, this is the best thing ever, being furloughed. Like, and then we were a year into it, and everyone was pretty sad about it.
Yeah, exactly. What's the question
again? Just the evolution from COVID, where we're at a couple of million, I think you said.
Yeah. So the evolution is within probably 4 to 8 weeks of going into lockdown, you could see the demand happening. We couldn't move anything onto the dealers because the dealers were shut, but we still had to buy.
Yes.
Because we needed to do something.
Yeah.
We started to place some adverts, and then we had a bit of a waiting list for when we came out of the lockdowns, where everything had already sold. Okay. So the demand was there hugely. Amazing. So that was the start of it. And then not everybody in this industry did well, because most people weren't used to going out there and buying. Because that's what we'd always done. We'd always proactively gone out and bought.
Yeah, you were hunting.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than just waiting for stuff to come to you.
And that's all they did. They just waited for the ex-customers, etc., to come in and say, "Oh, I've had enough now.
Yeah,
what price do you give me?" Most of the time, they just said yes. I think people are a lot more wise to it now with the internet. But that was the big thing. And as much as you can push things, sometimes this opportunity just gets given you, and you're like, you either what do you do with it? Do you either go to the next level, because there was a company that's far
so true.
There was another company that's far bigger than us.
Yeah.
That are now far smaller than us.
Yeah. Well, are you the biggest in what you do?
Yeah, without a doubt. In terms of like wholesale and everything like that.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah.
Well, the company that was bigger, and I can remember speaking to him at the time, and I said he went into, it was just before COVID, and I think he had 80 grand overheads a month, and that was us with 15 maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've really changed. Most companies have now gone off the other end. Some are starting to go bust in the industry.
Yeah.
Because they just haven't managed everything right. But we just took I just felt I took the opportunity. Yeah. I was like, well, these are all selling. If I buy more, we're going to make more.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that Leonard Ravenhill quote?
No.
The opportunity of a lifetime is seized in the lifetime of the opportunity. Yeah. And it's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, there's some things that come across you, like you play, they fall into your lap. There's an opportunity, there's a window.
Yeah.
But it's not there forever, is it?
No, exactly. I mean, we've been fortunate where it has continued to us because we built the brand, the foundations of what we do are there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to take the opportunity for sure.
When did the brand come then? Building the brand?
It was probably again late 2018 and stuff like that. I think I'd got a camera and just walked around and talked about the motorhome that was in front of me and just put it on YouTube and Facebook, sorry. Wow. And I did something that was...
Because you've got a big YouTube, haven't you?
Yeah.
Fairly big?
30-something thousand.
Which
in small industries, it's good, yeah. I just started walking around with a camera.
Yeah.
And then it evolved to me and Liam filmed each other just doing a review round.
Yeah.
And the other thing I did, which was slightly cheating, to get brand recognition and authority, is I paid for likes on Facebook. Wow. And I got up to like 15,000 likes on Facebook. Yeah. And that was a big thing because you could sort of advertise we got 15,000 likes on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. 3D checks.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We paid for them, but...
It's got like 1,000 Facebook accounts.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I don't think any of them in the UK are never going to do business with us, but it just looked good.
Yeah.
And that was like the first bit of authority and branding and everything like that had helped because it just got the brand out there.
And you read...
That was when, because for 2020 the auctions never opened, so everything we sell now goes through the auctions 100%.
Okay.
It might have been 2020, 2021, something like that. I read that book, and that was talking about, if you go, the best way to put it, if you go onto Google and you ask a question, you want the answer somewhere. So you click on the first page. If the answer's not on that website, then what do? You turn around and go back to Google and find another page until you get the answer. Yeah. So the theory is they ask, your website answers the question.
Yeah. And that was a big moment for you, wasn't it? And it's a book by Marcus Sheridan.
Yeah.
If you want to go read it, and if you're interested in branding, marketing, Marcus Sheridan.
Yes.
I think released another book actually. Yes. And does loads of great stuff on this.
Yeah.
And I'd encourage you to go and read it. It's a really good read, isn't it? But you really, they asked you answered your business, didn't you? If you go on the website, buy any motorcaravan.co.uk.
That would be either onehold.com.
Yeah. You'll be able to see how they have done that with the team as well.
Yeah. And there's still more work to be done. But if somebody goes onto your website and they're specifically looking for an answer, you need to answer that. Yeah. Because if they don't, they're going to go into your competition, they're going to answer it, they're going to do business with them. So it's a great theory. Yeah. And that was where it started with the auctions for us, on the auction side of things, which is under the Caravan Motorhome sales brand, that people wanted to know what the condition was because they couldn't go and see them. Yeah. They were online only. Yeah. They were based on on like 12 photos. Yeah. So at that stage, everybody kept asking me what was wrong with it. It's like, okay, let's just do a video. Let's do a report. It's going to really hurt us because we are telling them everything that's wrong.
Wow. But you were worried about it being a problem?
Yeah, and it was. I'm sure our profits took a dip.
Wow.
However, because they then built the trust...
Yeah. Because you were transparent.
Yeah, because we were transparent. That's what's pulled us through in a more of a downtime now.
And still thriving in what is a down market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
across the board.
Where there's a lot of dealers that aren't at the levels that they were. Some are doing okay. Some have gone under. That's where we thrive really, just because of that trust element.
I think that's really interesting, isn't it? Like clients are asking for something, but and probably the rest of the industry is too scared to give them what they want.
Yeah, and I'd probably say that's most. You know, I'd rather lose money myself than somebody who's doing business with us, because I don't want to upset them. Because at the end of the day, if we sold them a motorhome or whatever the product is that you sell, and you don't tell them what the problem is, they buy that product, there's a problem with it, they're not coming back to you. No. They're going back to someone else to buy it. Yeah. So that was my theory, is like, if we tell them what's wrong and we play ball with them, if we cock up and we give them a product that's not good, then we'll stand by it, we'll take it back, really sorry, let's go again.
You do live with like a great integrity, I think. Like, where did you get that from?
I don't know, I think it's just inbred in us. Just because, you know, I don't think we're all built that way. No, we're not. Some people have push the boundaries of stuff, but it's just not. I can't live with that guilt of sitting there expecting a phone call to come in and say, you've just sold me this.
Yeah, but it's like in all areas of your life. Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just who we are, I think.
Yeah. Do you think you got it from but is that like, I always find the nurture nature question interesting. Do you think that's nurture or nature?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. And it goes back to and obviously there's something I spoke to you outside of this podcast, which is my experience with a guy called Jonathan Shearman and what experiences he's given me. Yeah. And one of them is going down to London and learning a bit more about the development of us as children, what makes us we are now, etc. And I think that's just a lot of it. And it's just experience as you grow up, and that's what makes you who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that comes from the teacher of Sandy Cotter, doesn't it? Yeah. Centaur, yeah. And this is a part of the journey, is going from being someone who his mate has just come to work for him to now being a leader of a 30-person business.
40.
Wow. 40-something person business. Like, how was that transition? And we need to talk about Sandy's work.
Yeah.
Helping you.
Yeah.
AM Cube and things.
Yes.
But as well, just talk, how have you felt that pressure, that weight, that development, that excitement? Like, how's that transformation been? Of you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the transfer, in terms of like the learning of the AIM Cube and stuff like that, or just generally?
Just all together. Like, let's try and tie it all in if we can, because I think it's all a piece of the puzzle. I guess, first of all, let's talk about how you felt you had to change.
Yeah. I think
to be a leader of a business, I guess, rather than just someone who his friends coming to work with.
Exactly, and I think it came before that. There's a guy that I got introduced to, probably 21, and he was a business coach at the time. Yeah. And I never went looking for him, but I got recommended him. Yeah. Not through anything bad. This person I'm speaking to, Trevor, turned around and said, "Oh, I've got a business coach called Lee, and he said this is what he taught me." And I was like, "Oh, okay, tell me more about that." Yeah. And it was at the time when the company was growing, and I was sitting there thinking, this company's growing and I ain't got a clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden we've got, I'm going to guess, at 15 staff.
Yeah.
If I don't watch it, I'm going to be the person that lets the company down.
Yeah.
The company's going to be growing far quicker than I am.
Yeah, so you felt that responsibility to the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the people.
More than the business.
Is that right? Yeah.
So that's when I got the business coach, started doing more and more learning, and making sure that everything was just being done the right way.
What changed? Like, what changes day to day with it from doing that stuff?
I through the learning, I think it's
through
just
like-
I think it's just everything from start to
Yeah.
finish. You as a person, I go through me little stages of learning something, mastering it, and then going on to the next,
Move on,
or not even mastering it, just knowing enough that I feel very confident with it. A bit like I said with the ads in the first place. I wanted to know enough to be dangerous, and then one day the ads stopped working. I'm like, I haven't touched them. Why have they just stopped showing? And that's when you get somebody in.
What happened with that? Why did it just stop?
I still don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Wow.
But the company that took over, they just went with it.
What? So you had one supplier.
Yeah.
It was going great.
Yeah.
And then just stopped working well.
Yeah, just one day the ads just stopped running. No rhyme or reason. So that's when we got someone to manage them.
Okay.
But in terms of the learning, you just got to keep learning. If you want to grow
Yeah.
as a person, company, whatever it is. And it probably was, just thinking about it now you say it, the staff and not wanting to let the team down.
Yeah. I know that Steve, who's one of the owners of Nuvo, founder of Nuvo, he's massive on learning. I mean, I don't know if you can see it in the shop, but there's a book, Gino Whitman, Traction, and Steve is so big on learning.
Yeah.
James, as I've said, previous guest on the podcast, massive on learning, but you have to have the humility to learn, don't you? We've spoken about humility already, but you also have to have like a desire to keep learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people forget that.
I think you've also got to learn the things that interest you.
Yeah.
It's a bit like school. Everybody's got a subject that they had no interest in going to.
Yeah.
And that was very much, I wasn't bad, I was average at school. The ones that I liked, I probably pushed a bit further, but generally, you need to be interested in what you're learning. And I think my journey has been switching between anything from ads to how
Kids are brought up to what they are later in life.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about the AEM Cube, because go back to, I'm thinking winter 2023.
Yeah.
Is it, or start of 2024 maybe? Is it not that long ago you brought Jonathan Sherman?
It was when I was away. It was when I was in the States.
Yeah.
March, April last year.
Last year. And you brought Jonathan Sherman in because you wanted to make sure that the dynamics of the business and the team, what you wanted it to be worth.
Well, yes, I'm going to be honest, because obviously it was an introduction from you.
Yeah.
I got this email from you. You said it was this great person because Josh is a great people connector, and I think he'll be good to come in. Until he sat down with us, I couldn't tell you what he was going to do. Until he sat down with us, I have no idea what he was doing.
I did have this conversation with Jonathan. Jonathan, if you listen, hi. Like, he does some unbelievable stuff. I think, like, Jonathan, if you could just, like, we just need to get that down into a couple of lines, and if we can get that couple of lines, like, everyone in the world will need you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had Jonathan in, didn't we, to just talk about a few bits.
Yeah, so Jonathan came in, just sat there. There was a few of us in this meeting, and that's when you just understood how people can read people at such an unreal rate.
Your mouth is on the floor. I can remember that meeting.
I know.
And it's really funny dynamic because I think I've said this to you before, but when I first got introduced to or told there was an opportunity for my business, that helps build great teams.
Yeah.
We Buy Any Motorcaravan, I was a bit like, oh, really? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think I've said that to you before.
Yeah.
And I think there was only 10 of you at the time or something, not many.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, and then went and like loved you and the business and everything, and so different. And then we have the same dynamic with, I think, Jonathan coming in, thinking, and is it big enough? Not sure. Like then again, the same dynamic with you to Jonathan, thinking like, what's this guy here for? And it's just how funny how past the line at times and going down, exploring stuff, and that's what you are very open to. Is that?
I don't know, and it goes back to what we said earlier. It was just an opportunity. An opportunity got given to me. I had no idea what it was, but you recommended it, so I thought, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And it's probably been one of the biggest game changers for learning about myself and a lot of the team as well.
Yeah.
Just from what it's done, it's absolutely incredible.
So this might not be the easiest thing to do, but this will be really valuable for business owners who are employing people.
Yeah.
But just tell us a bit about AEMQ and what it's done for you guys at We Buy Any Motorcaravan.
So the AEM Cube it's obviously when people first started filling these forms in, people were terrified.
Yeah.
It was like, what's this? Is it going to make people lose jobs? Is it going to make...
Where's
Where's
it
it
going
going
to
to put me?
So essentially, AEM Cube is a profiling tool that helps you understand where people are in your business, and also it is based upon some research that basically says great businesses need people in certain areas.
Yes.
And that's what we were looking at, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got, for example, there's people like myself, love to come up with ideas, love to put them in place, but I'll lose interest halfway through.
Yeah, when it's
And-
off the ground a bit.
Yeah, and then I'll move on to the next one and move on to the next one, then keep throwing these things at everybody in the team.
Yeah.
And I just can't follow through things to the end. Just cannot finish a project to save my life. However, there are people who are on the cube that will be able to finish those projects.
Yeah.
So you need it as a team. You need somebody who's going to be able to start it and then take it, and then others are going to take it through to the end. And it's also the growth curve as well, which is another part of it. And there's a few of these profiling things. They're all different. They're all the same at the same time.
Yeah.
And you need, at the start of a journey of a business, you need somebody who's creative, that's willing to do a bit of everything. Towards the end, you need somebody who's got the data, and they're going to really use that data to take it to the next level and make sure it's not going to drop. And then if it does get to the top where it's getting stale, then you also need those creative people to then take it to the next level.
You had to almost break it a bit and go again.
Yeah.
What did it teach you most about yourself?
It was funny because I got told probably 3 years ago or so, controversial character. I went to watch him, and he was a guy called Ant Middleton.
Okay, yeah.
Celebrity. SAS Who Dares Wins, yeah. And he said, I write down a list of my strengths and weaknesses. The strengths, obviously, I double down on. The weaknesses, I make sure I work on.
Yeah.
And it was funny looking at these strengths and weaknesses, and they were sort of aligned with what the cube was.
Okay.
But it was just interesting knowing more about me, that I am that person.
Yeah.
And the reason why I can't finish anything is because of that's just who I am.
Yeah.
And it also, and not just, it was more for the team, because it's also just understanding that everybody's got a place in the team, whatever it is.
And we want to find the best place for you.
Yeah, exactly,
Where you thrive,
yeah.
where you're best.
Nobody's profile's bad.
No.
It's just where are you best fit for you.
I think that's what people don't understand, is it? It's like, look, your profile is just who you are. It's not like right or wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, you are who you are. There's no use in asking somebody who loves to do spreadsheets and really get into the detail to then start coming up with the best ideas in the world, because and vice versa. If a lot of people here probably listening, they'll be sitting there thinking, if I told you I just want you to work on spreadsheets for the next year, you'd be like, no.
No chance.
See you later, I'm going.
Yeah. But we're in Nouveau today, and there's lots of people out there who hey, I'd love to work on a spreadsheet for a year. That's my fun, or what I want.
That's right. And some people are great at that. I'm not, but I want a team around me that can do those roles.
Yeah, and I think that observing, I guess, kind of from the inside looking in, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that you've understood who you need around you.
Yes.
And who you need where.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some people that are going to be in the middle of all of that are going to understand and be able to stretch into areas, not staying in any of those areas in particular, but they're going to be able to do it.
Exactly. And so, like we said, we're Nouveau. A massive part of your journey is obviously then the finances, because of the complexity of what you do as a business as well, because of the money you out for stock and things.
Yeah.
Like, how did you develop with that, going from $1 million, 2 million, all the way to where you are today?
So, I mean, that was, again, not only down to the opportunity of COVID, it was also down to the opportunity of the loans that COVID gave, which was the CBILS loans, the coronavirus business interruption loans.
Yeah.
scheme, I think it was.
remember it, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had the 50 grand loan as well, which anybody could get if they pressed a button on the banking app.
Yeah.
But this one was a bigger loan.
Yeah.
It was government backed, I think 85% maybe,
Okay.
quite heavily backed. But
Yeah.
it gave us an option to have funding that we'd never have got before.
Yeah.
So for argument's sake, let's say back then we had a pot of, or a balance of 365 grand, I think it was, that sticks out in my head going into that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you can get a couple of loans that take you up another 500,000.
Amazing.
And our business is stock heavy.
Yeah.
You know, if we haven't got the cash to buy stock, then we can't make money.
Yeah.
So that just gives us the opportunity to then go out there and buy more. You know, if the interest rate was 10%, it didn't really matter because the margins that we're making on the motorhomes were far outweighing it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, money makes money.
It does. Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing,
Yeah.
accountancy wise or financial wise, however you want to call it,
Yeah.
is that money does buy opportunities.
Yeah.
But it's also making sure that when you do borrow that money, that it does make sense to do it.
Yeah.
Because we've got, I mean, another good example, we've got another one called our Walker, which is a very heavy interest. It's something 20-30% a month.
Okay, wow.
That helped a few times. Apparently this is bigger in America than it is over here. I never knew this. You can just withdraw it any second and then just pay it back. It's like an instant loan that you just pay back. But that was another thing. You know, again, the interest rates were really high.
Yeah.
But if it cost us $5,000 to take out 300 grand
Yeah. And you can,
for a week,
yeah.
we could maybe make 30 grand from that.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just making sure that you're making the most of of what you've got in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you? Because that is fairly complex.
Yes.
More complex than, and maybe a touch more risky.
Yeah.
For some people as well. This side of the thing, flipping it. I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, and so some people are scared of getting finances
Of
in,
course.
which you've got to sometimes see that it is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Whilst you don't want, I know people don't want to take loans. Sometimes it's just going to take you to the next level.
Yeah. But how did you sort of manage all that complexity? Was it with like management information, advice? How did it all look?
Yeah, at the time we had Emma, who we ended up employing. She was at the accounting firm that we was with at the time.
Yeah.
But she really helped look through those numbers. Even today, she puts a daily balance sheet. This is what we got going in and out, etc. Just to make sure that we keep an eye on it. I think it's really good to have that dashboard as a daily overview of where you are. So accountancy are key parts in it.
Yeah.
And also making sure that the accountants that you have got are also giving you the right advice and support.
Yeah. It's not just numbers, is it? It's like that advice,
No.
support.
No, exactly. You know, there's things that I'm sure that if we'd have known now, we'd have put into place 2-3 years ago, but it just wasn't advised. And, you know, as they say with an accountant, they should save you more money than it costs. You know, they should be making you money effectively when they do.
Completely. Yeah, it's so true. And I think, like I say, with the complexity of your organisation now.
I mean, ours is pretty easy.
Yeah, but you've got the overheads that you've got.
Yeah.
You've got the in and out nature of it.
You just don't look at them. You just hope for the best.
I know you're not like that. Oh, there's something else about you, I think, which is unique, rare. We're the podcast called Uncommon Ground. We are when you own a business, when you're an entrepreneur, you like forge a path.
Yeah.
You stand on uncommon ground. Something I think is incredibly uncommon about you is that you are, I don't want to say willing to risk it all because that would be too strong, but you're willing to explore new things, new ideas.
Yeah.
So just last year, I think it was maybe the year before, you set up a new business over in the States, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What do you put all that down to? That like desire to explore, to do new things. What does that come from? Was your dad like that? Where did you develop that?
To a certain extent, and it goes back to the, when we talked about the AEM cube a second ago.
Yeah.
Some people are just there for exploring and ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that's just me, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
What got me there? No idea, just there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Who you are.
in terms of entrepreneurship, I personally don't feel comfortable with that word for me. I don't feel like I've got there yet.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever will, which is maybe what drives me. which is also the reason why I started the American company and want to do other things. Because I also appreciate that I got given a very good gift from my dad in us starting this business together and building it. I still feel like I need to do something outside of that to prove myself to me. And that might be something that a lot of people out there think, you know, especially those who have had family business have been handed it down. Even if they've took them to the next level, you'll still think that you are labelled as that person that got.
Wow. Yeah, I've never noticed that about you. Wow.
But yeah, the word entrepreneur, I don't think I'll ever
Live up to.
Yeah, and not in a bad way or anything. I think it's just a driver just to make sure that I just keep proving.
And there comes baggage with that word as well, doesn't there? But Daniel Priestley explained it something like this, and I'll butcher it, but something like entrepreneurs are people who decide to take their own path and do their own thing. And I kind of like that. I think, that makes sense to me. He's not necessarily a badge of honour, it's just sort of what you do and who you are.
Exactly.
But you are an owner. But this is the thing. So there'll be loads of people, again, who are owners or entrepreneurs who are listening to this and they have a million ideas. Or maybe they're in a business right now and considering what to do next. How do you work out what the ideas to pursue and what the ideas to throw away?
Yeah, I mean, it's learning and ideas, really. You can learn and come up with ideas if you all you want. You can spend all your life doing it, but unless you actually put them into place and execute them, then they're only ever going to be just that. So it is just taking that gamble sometimes on something that you've got to be passionate about it. If you don't believe it, don't even bother to start. Which I know has probably been said a million times, but
Don't do something just for money.
no, exactly. Yeah, you've got to want to do it. And be invested in it, whatever that outcome is.
What are the things that excite you now?
Going forward in terms of business, which is obviously a conversation that we've had before, is just the way that the world's going with the AI side of things. I just can't see a way around it. I really can't. It's just coming in so fast. I mean, if you consider that ChatGPT came out late 22.
Yeah, something like that. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I can remember someone walking into tennis. We were at my daughter's tennis lesson, and they were like, "Have you seen this?"
Yeah. So we're just over 2 years since ChatGPT came out, and name me a person that's never heard of AI or ChatGPT or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's wild.
In just over 2 years.
Yeah.
Is that one of the biggest growth products that's come out?
Must be. Like after obviously there was the internet in 2000, and it's definitely grown quicker than that. Probably ever. So, like, what are you considering now? Because there'll be every single person who's an owner who's listening to this is asking this question for their business. What are you thinking about AI for your business right now? What are you planning? You know, what can we help people with who are trying to adopt this technology or don't want to get left behind, honestly?
You know, I'm just going to use my company as part of it. Our motorhomes that come in are priced between me and one other person. And let's say if I'm not available, the other person's not available, then we're in trouble. Because you've still got 40 odd staff that need to continue to work, and without that price, it just doesn't operate. So my next stage with a company, and this is an example for everybody, is employing somebody that's going to do AI. They are going to automate the whole pricing system from start to finish. It's going to be a big thing. I know it's there in the cars, but to give you a comparison versus cars, there's 2 million new cars registered a year. There's around 12,000 new motorhomes. So the data just isn't anywhere near there. There might be a lot of models of 101, 102, 1 of 10. So you're really struggling to get the data right. So that's part of it. And I think this is where most companies need to go now, is they just need to start automating things. There are jobs are going to go. There's no doubt about that. Not necessarily in my business, because it's such a manually people orientated job. But in most companies. I think they are.
Yeah.
I'm sure I saw a stat the other day that part of one accounting assistant or something like that is in the top 10. I might be wrong with that position. Top 10 biggest job loss areas.
Yeah.
Just as using accounts as an example, because there's AI that's going to come in that's going to automate so many jobs.
Yeah.
So my advice is just look at. I think the biggest thing earlier on is people need to learn and appreciate what can be done.
Yeah, just stop playing around with it. I was saying that we were out with I ran a bit of an event with some owners, and there were different people there, and one of the guys like, I just don't know where to start. I said, just stop playing around with it. Like, have it on your phone, have it on your computer, ask it whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, now, like, there won't be a day go by where I don't sit and work with it.
Yeah.
Also, I don't ask it a question.
Yeah.
After work, now my kids want to ask a question to it.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the beauty of it. And I think if there's people sat here who haven't engaged with it, just start asking, playing about with it.
One thing I did, which is probably the best thing for a lot of people to do, instead of using Google search or whatever it is you use on your phone, download ChatGPT, ask ChatGPT. Because it goes back to what I said earlier, where if you go onto a website, you're looking for an answer. If you don't find that answer, you go onto the next website. If you ask ChatGPT, it will give you that answer, it will give you the source, and it will give you whatever reason you want.
Yeah, it's unreal.
So that's, if you want to start learning and learning quick, just get on there and ask it. But ask it more complex questions than you think it'll do. Yeah. Because bearing in mind this software can code, I had a contract that I needed to do the other day. I got it to write out the contract.
Amazing.
It can do the most complex formulas and everything like that. There's not really much it can't do now. Yeah. And it's getting better and better every day. Amazing. I think it's just a case of keep researching that AI software, because there's going to be there's just going to be so much coming out, and there's probably already so much out there that people don't realise. You think about some of these companies that have been owned by, the elder generation might have had the business for 40 years. Yeah. If you had somebody who was young, up and coming, knew what the knowledge is, and just came in and say, right, okay, I know I don't want to take it back to the jobs because I don't want people to lose the jobs, but you got 100 people there. Yeah. But if you put this automation in, you'll be able to cut costs by 90%, and you don't need those 40 people there. Yeah.
And I think most of us hope that the way it will go is like the Industrial Revolution, where AI helps us do far more and far better and be far more productive than ever. But there's the other side where you just need to future-proof yourself, don't you? Yeah, exactly. Ready for it, just in case that happens.
Everything's going that way. Yeah. If you don't start looking at it now, eventually it will catch up on you. There's no doubt.
You can't bury your head in the sand, can you?
And probably the better way for me to put it is like, if you start putting automation in now, the chances are you're probably keeping the same staff, but the next level that you're taking that company to is going to be a different level altogether. Yeah. There's one company that I've been speaking to in America recently. The only reason they've stayed so far behind and got left behind by the competition is because they just haven't invested in automation, marketing, anything like that. Yeah. And I think that if they put the right automation and stuff like that, they could double their profits in a year. Yeah. That's how much of a difference it'll make. Wow. They could change from 300 grand a month revenue to 600. Wow. I don't think it would take that much. Wow. I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there that could do that.
Yeah. As we come to land, there's two more things I want to ask you. The first one is, I think you're definitely 5 figures, but maybe 6 figures into mentors.
Oh yeah,
over time.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're huge at investing in that.
Yeah.
Like, what's that done for you?
It's just made me a better person in and out of work. It's as simple as that. You've got to, and there's different mentors for different things. Yeah. I think that's the other thing to remember. The person that I originally got in, I'm not saying he's served his purpose now, but there's other avenues I want to explore. Yeah. Jonathan's completely different. He's very much into the people. My next thing in terms of mentors, I want to get better at public speaking. Yeah. So I'm going to get someone in to do that, because that's where I see a weak point in me, in my pros and cons. If you think about it out there, write your list of pros and cons down and what you want to work on.
That's hard. Like, that's where you are
unique like that. You're happy to
But you don't have to share with everything, but just write down, it's like, I'm really good at this, really good at this. Yeah. I could improve on this, and this.
Yeah.
I think it's just a really good way to excel yourself to the next stage. And it's also appreciate that you are good at those things. So for me, mentors, massive thing, 100% into six figures with them. But would I be going 9-10 times the business without them just in the motorhomes alone? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. And again, it's like that sliding doors moment. It'd be really interesting to see where you'd be without that, just as a comparison, wouldn't it? Because you just wouldn't be the person you are today.
And the other thing probably to touch on as well, it's also the support network around you. You know, these mentors, owning a business, running a business, being a manager, wherever you are, is hard.
Yeah.
There are some incredibly draining times.
Yeah.
Some incredibly probably dark times for some. You know, just reflecting on something I've had recently where we've had a member of staff that hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
You know, for a month, 6 weeks, you're not sleeping. You're constantly getting dragged down by it. It's not fun.
No.
It really is.
You just don't see that, do they?
No.
And it's just, and again, you know, people watching this, they'll probably appreciate that. And you just need that network around you that you can talk to and get advice from. Just sit there and talk it out. I mean, you're fantastic at listening. You know, and I think I said it a couple of months ago. It's like, I'm really sorry. I keep calling out and just talking at you.
Well, you just my wife one time right there, so just so you know, like she's here, like yeah.
But yeah, whether it's your friendship circle or mentors, they're going to both take you to the next level if you've got the right people.
Yeah, and like having people around you that want you to win,
Exactly. Yeah.
like and are happy with your success.
Yeah.
And then like cheer you on.
Yeah, there's that quote. There's a couple of quotes. You're only as good as your 5 best friends, or
you show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can't soar with the eagles if you hang with the turkeys.
I know. Or the other one, if you hang around with 5 drunks, you're going to become the 6th drunk.
Yeah.
If you hang around with 5 millionaires, you're probably going to become the 6th millionaire.
Yeah.
There's loads of variations for it.
Yeah.
However you look at it, it's the same.
In the words of Michael Jackson, it's human nature. I got you with that one, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's true. Like, we become like those people we're around.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes you have to pay. Like, sometimes you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
To elevate yourself or get that learning. Or Alex Hormozy calls it paying down your ignorance there. You know, what don't I know now that if I did know, I'd make X amount or be able to achieve this thing.
Yeah.
And you've been amazing at that. What's the first step for someone? Because again, in England, it's quite an American thing, I think, still.
Yeah.
We're getting better in England, but I think this whole idea of intentional learning is something that, again, we've had James Ashford on, like other great people I speak to, Steve, people who've achieved a lot, they learn.
Mm-hmm.
And they're happy to pay to learn.
Yeah.
What's the first step for somebody?
I think the first step is just jumping online.
Yeah.
Ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
See what.
Yeah, I want to learn in this area.
Yeah.
Give me some.
Who do you recommend?
What about an event? Like an event's probably a great way into it.
Yeah.
And I think again, we've been talking about this. I don't think there's a lot of events out there in this country.
No.
If you go, you know, when I was over in Tampa last year, they've got multiple business events.
Yeah.
You know, they've got something.
Each month.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Just in Tampa, they've got something called Masterminds, where just imagine this: all the biggest accountancy firms in the country meet once a month to discuss what's going well, what's going bad, who not to work with, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they meet and they have public speakers, whoever it is. You know, it can be anybody from Hulk Hogan to whoever.
Yeah.
And
Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. And they just sit there and just keep learning. So it's a big thing. So I'd just jump online. I would genuinely ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
They've just launched something, funnily enough, I saw this morning, where it's something called like product research.
Yeah.
Where you can ask it. It's like, I'm looking at buying this, and I'm sure it will work for business coaches.
Yeah.
You can either have them industry specific, or if there's something you want to learn about yourself, whatever it is. Like I said, mine's public speaking.
Yeah.
As a next stage, then just ask it that, and it'll give you options of suitors for it.
So if you're looking for a group or people, I want some people to get around who are like me, who are going to maybe encourage me to do a bit more or inspire me to do more. We have the Uncommon Ground community, and you can sign up with our wait list that will be in the bio for this or in the comments afterwards. So sign up there. So as we finish, last thing I want to do is this. let's imagine there's a 15 million turnover business, but they've been running for 50 years.
Yeah.
And they're doing stuff how they've always done it. And they want to go to the next level. They want to go to 30 mil. And we're going to help them do it by they ask you answering it, by ads, by anything else you can think of, email, whatever.
Yeah.
What key things are you saying to them to help them get to 30 mil, and what things need to change?
A few things. One is, if they've been doing everything for so long, then they need to be introducing new people.
Yeah.
That could be
Into the business?
in and probably externally.
Yeah.
You know, because you need support from whatever the different things are, whether it's marketing, you know, getting different businesses in, you know, they could be advising that you need a new website, you need this, whatever it is. Certainly video, if you're not doing it already.
Yeah.
I think video is a key thing, getting you and the brand out there.
Yeah.
Because again, people buy off people that they like.
I'm thinking about one of my clients, and they do skips. Like, and they're out here thinking videos, skips.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? What's your advice to them?
People will watch it.
Exactly, yeah.
And again, it's not about necessarily getting in new business. It's about if I'm picking 5 different skip companies,
Yeah.
and I've got one that's got a 3-page website.
Yeah.
I've got one that's got a few more pages and a bit more information. I've got this one. Oh, it's got videos about what we do. This is what the process is.
The owner.
Yeah, there's the owner. This is what the process is. This is what it looks like when it comes.
That's how they make it.
Yeah, the truck comes out,
Yeah.
it drops the skip off and then goes back, and then the process is this, and it's all videoed.
Yeah.
You know what you're dealing
Yeah.
with. There are no... they ask their answer. You answer. There's no more questions to it
Yeah.
because you've just seen the whole process from start.
Well, it's actually probably easier for them than it is for like Nuvo or for myself in the
These add your video, somebody doing a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Not saying that's all it is. But...
you know, it's a great point. They've got, you know, and it comes down to this point that
It's a product.
everyone says that no one's interested in me, that we were speaking about earlier.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, or no one's interested in my business. Actually, a lot of people are.
Yeah, it's the story as well.
Yeah.
It's not just the business; it's a story. Because everybody's got their own story coming to it. I mean, you know, I could sit there, like I said to you earlier, it's like, the hell's interested in motorhomes? But it's more the story and the learnings from it that everybody can appreciate about it.
It's true.
But yeah, for me, video is going to be a huge one.
Videos.
But yeah,
What about ads? Because
yeah,
like, ads have been a key part of your story for We Buy Any Motorcaravan. Like, what if someone's dipping a toe into that stuff today? Is that still the way to go? What's some advice you can give them?
it depends on what the company is.
Okay.
If I was doing a makeup company,
Yeah.
ads might not be the right way.
Yeah.
It might be a TikTok or something like that.
Yeah, Google ads we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what. Sorry, yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry, Google ads. Yeah, Google ads might be the right way.
Example.
Yeah, you might get a far better audience getting an influencer on TikTok.
Yeah.
So it depends what it is. You've got to test, but you've also got to do well in tracking.
Yeah.
And unless you are willing to put a lot of time into learning it yourself, you're probably better off getting a trusted, well-reviewed marketing company instead.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of external things I'd look at.
And if you don't know who to ask, like, ask your advisor. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a Nuvo client, do they ask the team at Nuvo? They'll know someone in the space, or ask one of your advisors, your bank manager, whoever it may be, and then just do some research yourself. Because in this area, especially when it comes to marketing, you can just throw so much money away if you don't know anything about marketing and sales, couldn't you? So trying to get some recommendation is really important.
Yeah. And like I said, the first one is people.
Yeah.
If you do get those people in that are new with new ideas, you need to have broad enough shoulders to listen to the good and bad.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the difference of whether you take it to the level or not.
Especially if they're employed.
Yeah.
Like, especially if they come in, you've got to be super open to listening to them. But that's one of the biggest ways you can transform this in your business, just by acquiring great talent.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that I've realised recently, obviously, with you, is you don't appreciate what a good member of staff is, or a good person in that position, until you get one.
Yeah.
And then you get one in, you're like, oh, wow.
Changes everything.
Yeah. Because as a small company, the chances are that you're employing people that you know, friends, whoever it is.
Yeah.
But it depends on if they are the right people for the more specialist jobs as you go on.
Yeah. Well, I can remember when we first came in to see you, like you had no idea really how to hire into what we call the buy-in team, but really it's a sales skill set.
Yeah.
At that time, really, did we? I can remember you were sat there. I think there was a couple of recruiters working on it and just not getting any traction, and it was just all a bit of we just weren't sure. And then now there's a blueprint there for the kind of person you're looking for. AMQ involved.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And it just having the right people in the right places just changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's massive. And it's also allowing them to like I said, it's allowing them to do the work.
Yeah.
Because you want to get people who are far better in that position than what you are.
Yeah.
There's no use in me getting somebody who's at the same level. Because for We Buy in particular, I have done every single position in that company, which is why I probably will be the most comfortable in that company than I ever will be in another one going forward. It's making sure, one, you're hiring better than you've got, far better than yourself, and better than you've already got there, and just leaving them to do what it is. Have the discussion, but you just need to, both sides need to be heard and acknowledged as a minimum.
Yeah, completely. Mate, it's been so good having you with us. Thank you. We've loved it. And but what I do want to ask you is, we ask this every guest, and this podcast, it's about walking on common ground.
Yeah.
And what is the one habit or skill that you have that makes you uncommon?
Oh, good question. I'd probably say it is just continuing learning. I know it's not a one-off skill, but it's just keeping going and just keeping going and putting it into place is the two things.
I completely agree, knowing you.
Yeah, whatever it is, whether it's learn about ads all these years ago, or me being heavily invested in learning about how people work and getting the best out of people. Yeah, that's. I think that's. I just live it. I wake up, go to the gym in the morning, and for the hour and whatever it is that I'm in the gym, I will sit there listening to a podcast, or whatever it is, until I've learnt it to death.
Amazing. Mate, thank you so much for being with us. It's been excellent. If people want to contact you, follow you, whatever, what's the best way to do that?
Probably a couple of the best ways. One, email address, which we'll put in the comments below, and two, probably my name, which is Shane Malpass, and I'll be on LinkedIn. Perfect.
Thanks so much. And sign up for the community waitlist, the Uncommon Ground community. If you want to hang out with Shane and myself and others, then we'll be on there. See you soon.